What's up? We have some Deluxe battle decks here, and we're gonna crack them open. Got them from GameStop here, 20 bucks each. Pretty sweet, and gonna have some fun with this level 2 decks. So we'll my friend and I will kind of play test them, kind of reference to prior videos, specifically the part 1. I kind of talk a little bit more about it, so if you're interested, there's some context there, more so of this like little deck fighting between the other level, like bunch of level 1 decks, other level 2s. Obviously I haven't done level 3 because it would completely smoke the level 1s. But that'll give a little bit more context to that adventure, and as well as some support for the channel, which is very, very appreciated. But we'll go into it. I'm very familiar with this deck, so this will be easier for me to talk about, faced against it. My friend originally had this one. And I know how to pilot it as well. The Ninetails is gonna be definitely new, so I'll have to get some feedback at a later point in time. And yeah. All right, yep, here is the Zapdos EX deck. Typical package that we're pretty much familiar with. With the level 1 decks, pretty much similar. They give us the deck list, kind of tell you what's in it. I mean, all pretty straightforward. Definitely went more expressive on the box art, but not all the same. So just go ahead and crack it open. Not sure if there's an easier way to do this. There you go. Oh. So here we go. Got the counters. Got the playmat. The paper mat, I should say. Not as nice as the mat I'm using. Oh, it's... Huh? I wonder if the Ninetails, I take it probably is the other one, giving on the art. And line them up. Complete the image, I guess. So we got the nice coin. Yeah. Pretty nice. And they give us 2 poison and a burn counter. Pretty sweet. And they give us, there's the EX cards here. The nice 2 Zapdos here. Yeah. Nice. There you go. Product sitting on the plastic. Hopefully double sleeving these will start to straighten them out. Really nice. Then of course Go card, and then the deck. The deck box, very similar to level 1s. Nothing's really changed here with all the deck contents, which we will go over. So very, very nice. Give these a little showcase. There we go. We get 2 in 1. Very, very nice. Okay, here is the Ninetails. Very similar to the Zapdos that we just did, the level 1s, etc., etc. Nothing crazy. Go ahead and open this up. There you go. 3 Ninetails. Deluxe. Again, the damage coins, counters, whatever. Same thing with the paper mat. Obviously the deck guide for both, it looks like it's just about the same. Here is our paper mat. Yeah, just like I thought, it was the fire side of the full image there. We got the Ninetails coin, that's really nice. Of course, 2 of these. I'm not gonna bother really taking them out just because it's same for the Zapdos that we just did. Yep. Of course, the deck, very similar. We got the other box right here. See them side by side. Kind of keeping up the kind of theme on the box too. A little deck box here. Yeah, a little deck contents, but we'll go over. And our 3 Ninetails that are pretty. That one's actually pretty on there, man. We get 3. There's the code. Yes, we get 3 Ninetails. Yeah, look at that. Really like the styling of the foiling on this. Art's pretty cool too. Art's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Pretty straightforward. Nothing too crazy in the box opening. Well, we're gonna go over this Zapdos EX deck profile here. We got our 2 Zapdos EX. I won't go too much into this until we go through a little bit more of the deck. It'll make a little bit more sense, a bit easier to explain that way. So 200, and we have the ability Voltaic Float. If this Pokemon has any energy attached to it, it has no retreat cost, which is very handy. And multi-shot lightning, 120. This attack also does 90 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. So you kind of already see where we're going with this. 120 isn't too crazy, but it's really kind of bench manipulation. And you'll see that as we get more into it. So we got the Zapdos EX over here, and then we have our Miraidon EX over here, 220. Now, see, compared to something like the Zoroark, which this guy already has an extra 10, and I know I'm talking about like a level 1 compared to level 2 deck here, and obviously the power level's a bit more drastic. And it hits for 220, right, versus 190, and it can't attack. That's okay. But the access of this to have this ability in your deck is, to me, very handy, especially with something like Zapdos, where, and these other basics that you'll see, really helps with filling that field, right? So once during your turn, you may search your deck for up to 2 basic lightning Pokemon and put them onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. So very, very nice. Very easy to just dig for him as one thing and just start filling your bench, which is very, very nice. We get 3 Haluchas. So obviously it's fighting. Well, Troy, what does that have to do with his deck? The ability. His ability, the wing attack, obviously nothing. You can get in scenarios where maybe after you played him for your ability, you're just gonna kind of use him as a little chump. Like, I don't care if they take a prize card. You're like, I'm just gonna set up for the feedback. And I mean, one retreat if you have to is not terrible. But flying entry, when you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, so obviously you don't want to search him with Miraidon here. You won't get the ability. It says you may choose 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon to put 1 damage counter on each of them. So now you're starting to see we are going to start searching for this. We want to search for Miraidon to put on there to fill the bench, and we want to use other methods to put this guy in our hand. So we want to utilize this ability here. You start to see now we can start tinging their back row. So even if we hit something, we're starting to hit their bench, and we can very easily knock things right out of their bench to they're pretty damaged. So it makes either, if it comes on as the active spot, we could kill it quicker. If not, it's pretty much almost guaranteed. However, that all will work, right? So it applies a lot of pressure. So that's pretty much the kind of sniping package, if you will, of just these 3 right here. I mean, Raiden's going to be just your engine a really powerful engine tool. So that goes into kind of like what else we will search with it. And there's not a lot of Pokemon in here, but we have 4 Pommies. So try to get him out. Largely right through Miraidon here. And then we got 3 Pommos. Now, he does have Electro Bullet for 2, so we can somewhat support as well. Not as nice as the Halucha over here, because even if you don't kill something, you're starting to kind of really set up for Zapdos, which is even better, right? Not to say, yes, we were hoping to knock something out in best scenario between Pommo with this Electro Bullet or Zapdos. Point is that there's a lot more pressure with Zapdos than there is with Pommo. It's pretty good there. So that leaves us with 2 Palmots. Now, we kind of want to basically get to these a lot more. We have like Jock in the deck as well, so we want to get to this a little bit more. We prefer the Palmot over the Palmo. Not to say Palmo doesn't have some utility, but Palmot's a real backup plan, if you will, in this deck. So yes, Miraidon also hits for 220, so we do have that as the option as well, which is once the tandem unit kind of doesn't really service any need or whatever, we can start adding energy to use this Photon Blaster over there. But Palmon ends up just kind of ramping itself, which is why it's really nice to get to him as quick as possible too. You know, use the tandem unit, try to get to the Palmy, just start adding to him or evolving him. We will get Palmot, which has the ability for Electrogenesis. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for a basic lightning energy card and attach it to this Pokemon on the shelf of your deck. So really, he's starting to kind of just add itself. So we really just leave it alone on the bench, use its ability, and slowly start adding up to Electropulse, which smacks for 230. So very, very, very heavy hit, right? So we essentially will have these 3 as our kind of like backup, try to one-shot kind of thing, right? So accumulates pressure over time. So not only is this sitting there, this is accumulating up to this 230 attack. They're also trying to deal with Zapdos, who's also hitting their bench. So there's a nice synergy here, really nice synergy, and a lot of pressure. So that goes to 3 Rhymes over here. Draw 3 cards, switch out your opponent's active Pokemon to the bench. So it allows us like to kind of play a play. So we get draw, which is really nice, but we can also make a play if they have something that's out on the active spot that we don't really want them to keep there. So we can switch it out. It allows us to apply pressure. So even if they do retreat, well, we got the other part of multi-shot now on the bench. So it kind of will keep their bench loaded, right? With damage counters. So we got Rhyme there. We got 2 Jock. So this will help us primarily. This is obviously just searching for Palmo and Palmot. So this emphasizes a little bit more the deck's point of trying to get to Palmot as our backup plan, because its ability can start generating quickly, right? While we're focused on putting energies on the Zapdos or Miraidon annually, right? 2 Ricos. Just some stuff to dig. 3 Youngsters. Hand fixing. Could be draw if you're kind of out of gas a little bit on your hand. Professor's Research. I've never really had this come up. This never really, like, I never had to use it to do that. Like, maybe if I had like 1 card or something. I don't even think I even had that happen. This really just became kind of discard outlet. With the possibility, this could probably be something better, of course. Boss's Orders, you only get 1. Target something. Boss's Orders is really good, right? I mean, doesn't need much explanation on that. Definitely the most important item in this deck is Electric Generator. We get 3 of them. And look at the top 5 cards of your deck and attach up to 2 basic lightning energy cards you find there to your bench Pokemon any way you like. So really helps with getting on Zapdos, Maridon, or one-shots, and just really start kind of pressure, so nice ramp. Limited though because of 5, you know, but still nice. We get 4 Bravery Charms. Very handy. The basic Pokemon this card is attached to gets plus 50. So obviously a condition doesn't really benefit our Palmont or Palmo. Obviously this is really aimed towards our Zapdos and Maridon, and we have 4 for consistency. You could put it on the Hawlucha, I guess, if you needed to buy possibly an extra turn, because maybe it won't die immediately. Or get 2 turns out of it, if you will. For Nest Ball, obviously, because finding basics are very critical in this deck. Got 4 of them. 3 Ultra Balls. Usually use the professor's research to discard these for these Ultra Balls. But really nice to find our evolutions as well, and or basics. So there's a good flexibility there. 2 Earthen Vessel. So finding energy is definitely pretty important, as it normally is anyway, but definitely a little bit more because we want to stay consistent keeping energy in our hand. Pretty much goes kind of for any deck, but obviously a discard out here. There's a lot of discard. Professor Research discard, Ultra Ball, Earthen. I guess maybe not that considerable, but definitely a little bit heavy in that. Super Rod, single Super Rod, because Palmont discards it all, so this helps us pretty much get that back, or put the Zapdos back in our deck that are probably needing. So there's a nice ability to get the Zapdos back for the energy off of a Palmont if it used it, and we need the energy, right? We don't want to run out of our fuel. We got a single switch here. Just kind of helps us, even though the Zapdos doesn't really need it. I guess you could argue it's a little bit more energy conservative, I guess. I mean, Maridon only needs 1, so I guess it kind of just depends on what you're doing. If not, you don't have to waste your energy off the Hawlucha is probably the key for this. Your Palmont itself doesn't even have a retreat cost, which is pretty wild. And then we have 13 basic energies. So you can kind of see the little bit more of a need for, granted a lot of this stuff isn't crazy in its cost. You can kind of see the need of like the Super Rod, definitely for energy there. All right, so we have our Ninetails EX. We get 3 of them. So 260 health. We get for 1 fire energy. Heat Wave, your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned for 30 damage. All right. And then for 1 fire and 1 non-specific, we have Mirrored Flames. So 80 damage if you have the same number of cards in your hand as your opponent. This attack does 140 more damage. So pretty chunky 220. Obviously we're gonna want to try to keep our hands both fixed to even have this go off. So we get 3 of those. We get 4 of our Vulpixes. Of course, we're gonna have max out in our deck because we want to stay as consistent and try to get to our Ninetales as quick as possible. So 60 health, 1 combustion for 10. Confuse Ray, your opponent's active Pokemon is not confused. So, you know, pretty simple there. We get 4 Ponyta. And then we get 3 Rapidash. So Rapidash, Fire Main for 2 for 60. But let's look at this ability here. Heat Boost. Once during your turn, you may discard a Fire Energy card from your hand in order to use this ability during this turn. Your fire Pokemon attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent. All right, so we're getting a damage buff. So we're gonna be trying to max out of really one-shotting and really hurting people. Our Pokemon. People too, I guess. So obviously have not piloted this deck, so I'm not familiar with it, nor its performance, if you will. But I will definitely get back with that. And then we have 2 Palladian Tauros. So 2 for Raging Horns, attack does 10 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. Alright, so can retaliate pretty heavily then. And for 300 Blazing Dash 120. Alright, so slight backup of a heavy hitter here. We get our first Stadium card that I've opened, and the other deck did not have one. So we get Jubilife Village. Once during each player's turn, that player may shuffle their hand to their deck and draw 5 cards. If they do, their turn ends. Okay. I assume for assisting and fixing, I guess. Zisu. We have 3 of that. Draw cards until you have 1 more card in your hand than your opponent. So, alright, so this is definitely adding into the fixing, because this will, in theory, that 1 extra card is probably the one we're going to put on the Ninetails, like an energy onto Ninetails for turn and then attack. So definitely, or maybe a possibility of some other utility, right? Like a Super Rod. So very important. I'm glad they gave us 3 to Jock. So finding our Ninetails, which is very important, and our Rapidash for further damage output. So I actually have not read that little list, but that sounds like this is more or less the game plan. The little cheat sheet about the deck, right? We get 3 youngsters, so this could do very similar to the Jubilife, but not in return. So we can get closer to our opponent's hand, especially if they have maybe a smaller one or about near the size. Probably more so going to be fixing. Still feel like Professor's Research is going to be very niche, where we're going to even want to use this, but we get 3 of that. Now, Judge, much like this Zisu here, is definitely going to be our further kind of hand fixing utility here. So each player shuffles their hand into their deck and draws 4. So that's going to give us exact. So that is going to be definitely what we're going to want to try to get to. Now we have 3 Earthen Vessels. So obviously grabbing energy in hand, always important, but the discarding a card can be very handy, especially as we're trying to fix our hands to be as close to our opponents. For Great Ball, same thing. The discard 2 could be something. I would say it's probably going to be more utility in trying to find what we need in this combo line. And then we got Pal Pad. So shuffle up the 2 supporter cards from your discard pile into your deck. So very nice, as we probably going to be wanting to target our Judges and our Zisu with that. For Nest Ball. So granted, we do have the 2 Jocks. I can definitely see why they play 4, as we're really just trying to get the Vulpixes out as possible, consistently with this full play set, and as well as even the Ponytails. Look, they gave us 4 for the Ponytails, not like 2 and 1 or something simple, like we've seen similar in the level 1s, of course. Super Rod. So obviously grabbing anything we may need that, and maybe we're running low, maybe they took most of our Vulpixes out, or energy, right? And then to switch, obviously the utility of kind of readjusting our board is pretty important, like maybe the Tauros or our Ninetails, instead of wasting the 2 energy, right, for retreat cost. Energy retrieval. So put up the 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your hand. We get 2 of these. Gonna be pretty important, especially given that we're wanting to discard energy off of the Rapidash here. So this kind of helps us keep the ability going as much as we can, right? Because we just put that same 2 energy over the course of the turns back into our hand after using them. So really nice there, as well as just consistency for putting energy on our Pokemon as needed. And then also 13 fire energy. But that's pretty much it for this deck. Okay, so I actually wanted to go over this. I know I said I didn't read it, and I wanted to see how close I was, and I was pretty much spot on. We want to just get to Ninetails as quick as possible. And these are just like kind of supporting cards, right? But our linchpin is definitely the Ninetails. And much like, you know, definitely it's going to be, you have to be very calculating and how you want to plan your move, because again, you're trying to keep the ability to use Mirrored Flames, or excuse me, its condition to basically deal 220 as frequent as possible. So we want to make sure, right? So Judge is obviously the best. Zisu, these are definitely Zisu and Judge are definitely our huge supporting cards for this, right? They're pretty detrimental. But I did not know is that obviously you have discard like your Ultra Ball here, or your Earthen Vessel. So discard 2 cards for Ultra Ball. It says search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand and shuffle. According to this, it says who needs cards? Here's an interesting rule that might help you if you need to discard cards. So if your opponent has like maybe 2, maybe even no cards in hand, if you search your deck for specific kinds of cards, you always have the option to fail to find. That is, you can choose not to put any cards from your deck into your hand, even if you find the right ones. So you can play the Ultra Ball or Earthen Vessel to discard cards, but not take any new cards from the search if you need to keep your hand size low. I did not know that you could basically search for nothing, as if you will, and that kind of counts, because like the way I read it, search your deck for Pokemon reveal printing, like that sounds mandatory. So compared to like Magic, it usually they say like you may. So I'm surprised there's not a you may search or for that like kind of clause. Granted, I know this isn't Magic, but just for context, like Magic will tell you if it's optional, right? So I didn't know that you could even do that. So that makes a lot more sense of the Ultra Ball. And gives a lot more utility, well, to the Ultra Ball and this Earthen Vessel as you're trying to shrink your hand size. So like playing against like Iron Leaves, for an example, they're gonna really run out of energy pretty quick, or hand. They're just gonna have that gas. It's very aggro, right? This is a lot more thought put into planning your moves here. So looking forward to actually kind of testing this out. It's gonna probably take a bit to get used to, but it's pretty straightforward at the same time. But yeah, I think that's gonna be our Zapdos and our Ninetails kind of box opening and kind of just going over the deck contents here. So, thank y'all for watching.